Welcome to episode 18 of the Oso Spurs podcast, where tonight we have got Stu. How are you, mate?
All good, evening all.
Even Stu. Deej, how are you, man?
Doing good, doing good.
Johnny, how are you, mate?
Never better, man. Bring it on.
Yeah. Bring it on, bring it on. Well, there's only one place to start, isn't there? Yeah, let's dive straight into it. And Deej, I know you've got a lot of pent up thoughts on this, and you were telling us before that was your favourite defeat of the season, whatever that means. Do you want to explain to us what you're on about? Because that sounds pretty beta to me. That sounds a bit too Tottenham,
definitely.
Accepting mediocrity as a success.
Classic Tottenham fan base accepting defeat. But the reason I say it's my favorite defeat is obviously, I will preface this by saying definitely not. Definitely don't like any defeats, preferably, but at least in this game, we kind of actually went for it. Like I wish we would have done against like Milan, for example, or other games or like even like Everton before we conceded. Like we went down and we actually made like attacking subs in like the 60th minute. I We'll get to the first substitution a bit later, but I thought that overall the substitutions were all pretty good. I think that leaving Højbjerg on an island was a bad idea, but we kind of had to go for it at that point. And I mean, that did end up costing us, but I respect them for trying. And if Richarlison's header goes in, we win that game. So I'm frustrated with the way that we played in the first half after scoring up until the second half. And there are several factors. I don't think it was just Sanchez's fault. I think we just played kind of terribly as a whole. It wasn't like that. Like you can argue what you want about like how much his individual mistakes led to goals. And but we unfortunately everyone on the pitch knows everyone's like current ability, and because of the way that we played, we put players in situations where they were not going to do their best, which is kind of the same thing that we've been complaining about with Conte all year. I think once we switched to a back four, you could kind of immediately tell that we were obviously going forward more often, because part of that was due to Nottingham Forest just sitting back for putting 10 men behind the ball and, sitting with their legs crisscrossed and waiting for us to do something and then dump the ball away as hard as possible once they got there. But when we had the back four, I thought that our attacking patterns actually looked pretty decent. I thought that Porro looked pretty good, besides the basically giving away the first goal. I thought that his crossing was promising. Shame we couldn't get anyone on the end of it. But when you put balls in the box like that, I think that it's only a matter of time until something comes from it. I thought that Danjuma looked brilliant. His goal, beautiful strike. I try to chalk it off for offsides because can't have anything nice. But I'm sorry, Prime Neuer isn't getting to that ball. It was a brilliant strike, and I would like for him to play more. I think Lucas has one more game suspended, so hopefully he can show something in that one game that can keep Lucas on the bench. I thought that Richarlison looked really good. Richarlison, even with the goal that he missed, I think he is just cursed at this point. The first goal he scored, that was a very good finish, chalked off because Danjuma was a couple inches offsides, and then just missing a free header, which sucks in this situation. But nobody's perfect. I'm pretty sure Kane missed a header. It was a bit harder than that one, but a bit earlier in the game. I could be misremembering, but nobody hits every header. If they were, then they'd be. Maybe Holland. Maybe Holland hits every header.
No,
but other than that,
there is a stat.
I thought we played really well.
Yeah, there is a stat. Actually, I think it was The Athletic. They basically showed that, in summary, doesn't matter how good you think a player is, Haaland, Messi, Ronaldo, whatever. most of these players actually have a pretty similar conversion rate in the Premier League as any other striker. It's just they put themselves in a position to get those opportunities a lot more. That's the bigger differentiator rather than their ability to take slightly more chances, typically. Obviously, Heung-min Son's probably an example of a player who's got consistent overperformance on XG because his finishing is ridiculous when he's on form. But anyway, Stu, what did you make of the game?
No, I mean, I agree with Deej. I thought, obviously, we played quite well at the beginning. Even Perisic getting plaudits from Deej, which, that says everything you need to know. Sonny, apart from his goal, he looked really sharp. The only thing was, obviously, once Longley went down, we kind of seemed to lose it. And to be honest, probably even before that, once we scored, we already started to sit back, and I was already starting getting a bit annoyed at that because it's the same routine we've seen in every game this season, actually going back to Mourinho's time even. So it was like no surprise that once Longley went out, Sanchez came on with the booing, which we'll get into more details later. We kind of inevitably conceded. But as Deej said, I was really pleased that we finally made proactive substitutions. We didn't wait to the 80th minute. We were out there changing formations, being attacking, throwing people up front. And I was, watching the game with a mate of mine, and both of us like, even if we lose, at least we're going out swinging. And then we equalize. And if Richarlison had got that header, we'd all be in a completely different mood saying, fourth is back on because we're playing great football, etc., etc. Instead, in typical Spurs fashion, we miss the header, they go down the other end, and that's it. But, again, going to what Deej said, when it comes to Danjuma, he is showing with every chance he gets that Conte is an absolute twat for not giving him a chance.
Absolutely.
Because there is no explanation why Lucas was getting on the field before that man. It baffles me. I just can't understand it.
Yeah. Bring Danjuma on against Everton and we don't lose. I'm going to throw that out there. We don't draw, sorry. Yeah. We don't concede that goal because we have 11 men on the field.
God, Johnny, what's your thoughts? Are you on the same page as them?
I wouldn't be as positive as the boys there, to be honest with you. I'll have to be honest. I mean, I guess I was there, which maybe doesn't help.
Oh, you were. I have to say, Johnny, your loyalty to Tottenham that weekend. You flew over from Ireland to go to the game, and then not only did you watch Spurs, you then went to watch West Ham.
I did.
To cheer them on against. I know
that saved the weekend.
West Ham, but you're so committed. You just wanted to see Arsenal drop points that you actually went to that game.
That is true.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
No, I mean, I guess when you it is an effort to do that, and I know lots of fans do that. But when it's funny because now it's like Wednesday, so 4 or 5 days have passed since, and I'm kind of like my love for Spurs is starting to sort of rekindle even after such a short time, because kind of on Sunday I was just absolutely sick of Tottenham so much, and I couldn't get excited. And like I was talking to the kids in the class on Monday, and just like any time I was talking about vocabulary that was negative, I kept using Spurs as an example when I was using these words in a sentence. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I mean, yes, there's no question that Sonny was a huge positive. Danjuma was a huge positive. I totally agree on that. Perisic so much better than he's been for a very long time. Paro is decent. No, he's much better going forward than anything else we've got on the left. I really, though, however, would not say that he had a good game. I think he had a really poor game. I think his defence was shocking. And I think that, unfortunately, that outweighs his positive contribution massively for me, not just because of his direct involvement in the goals we conceded. It's not the first time. I'm not like... clearly, he had come to us with a big reputation, big price tag. I'd be optimistic about him. Maybe I don't know what the system would be that would work best for him, but in terms of just defensively, at the moment, he's just not at it at Premier League. I mean, it's Bournemouth, for God's sake. It's not like... I know Bournemouth played pretty well, like probably one of their better performances. I don't watch them, obviously, every weekend, other than the highlights of that are on TV. They were well organized, and they know what to do to capitalize on our weaknesses, and it just comes back to our defense being absolutely useless. And it's not really that difficult. You put our guys under pressure, and they're going to make mistakes. You crowd them in, and they're absolutely. I mean, even like Romero trying to do all sorts of like flicks and back heels and stuff. Like, it's just, come on, man. There were quite
out, isn't he?
that, yeah, like it's just the defense. The defense ruined the whole thing. Obviously, the Sanchez incident with his treatment from the fans really soured things for me being in the ground. And yeah, I'm still really not very happy about that, to be honest. I think it's pretty shocking stuff. Yeah, really can't get behind that at all. And the whole Poch love the chance for that. Like, I obviously understand why people are discontented because none of us are happy. It's really not pleasant to watch. I know we started off well. I thought, like, I was with my son, and when we went 1-up and we were kind of flying forwards, it looked like it could be a nice, significant win, which we've hardly had all season. Like, maybe Southampton's the only other one that was really comfortable, and it just didn't transpire that way because we ended up dropping back again, even though it's Bournemouth and we're at home and we're ahead. It's just like, so I just think that although there are positives and the substitutions were much better, and we did go much more attacking in the second half, it's just so demoralizing when it's Bournemouth and it's at home and we're still in the top 4 hunts, and Newcastle have just dropped points. And I just really just like this. That game has kind of like broken me. I think I get where TJ. I do see the angle, and I don't want to be all negative because there were positives. But for me, it's kind of like a season-defining game because I'm now just sort of almost checked out. Really, to be honest with you, I really kind of I'm not very.
I think I said it on the last few. Johnny, I've been in that space for about 5 games now. Like, where we are in the table is just a false. It's a false reality, and the only way we get 4th is if everyone else continues to be as bad as we are, and you just don't get 4th really from that happening. Like, I'm actually quite happy now. I've just accepted it. I'm like, cool. I'm just gonna like watch Dan Juma hopefully get some minutes, and I'm trying to think what else there is positive. Fuck.
Hopefully Sunny, obviously, it'd be great to see Sunny.
No, there are some green shoots, and like watching Skip plays, I've kind of already looking at next year and just thinking, yeah, it is what it is this year. I want the season to be over, and I'll be so much happier when I know who our manager is. That is the big thing. Everything changes like that when your new manager's in, and it can just turn around like that.
I agree. I can't wait for the end of this season. If I could, I'd fast forward, because you just know that from now until 1st of July, it's just going to be toxic with, our fans criticizing the board nonstop until we get a new manager and new players. Until then, it's just going to be horrible.
And the discontent's going to grow. It's going to grow and grow and grow, because we'll talk about Newcastle later, but we've got some tough games like that coming up, and results probably aren't going to change. We might get the odd good result, but we're not going to win 3 or 4 on the bounce. So discontent's just going to grow and grow and grow until that manager's in place, and there's something for the fans to think, we're building again. At the moment, it feels like we just like knocked the house down, and we're like, right, we better go find a builder now. It's like, what, you didn't already have one in mind? So we're just like staring at this pile of rubble, waiting for someone to start putting it all back together again, and it's just very, very frustrating.
First domino falls tomorrow. It's supposed to fall today.
Hopefully Pratashi situation is clear-cut, defined, i.e. he's gone.
Yeah.
Even though he isn't all bad, let's be fair. He's done some good things, but
his taste in manager is bad enough that I'm happy to see the back end of him.
Yeah, I think he's too pragmatic with the approach to football, and that's not what we want.
Yeah. Which is weird, because I feel like a lot of the players that he signs don't fit with that kind of idea of like a pragmatic approach. Like, Hill does not fit with any of the managers that he's wanted to sign. For example, I don't think Sarr is necessarily. Sarr kind of fits anywhere. I think he's young enough that he can still like be like molded into whatever. But from what I saw of him at Mets, I can't really speak much about him now, but he seemed kind of like a player who would like be better in a less pragmatic side. Obviously, Mets are awful, but that's besides the point. Like I just don't get it.
How's
I
Hill
don't
getting
get
on, by the way, Deej? Do you following him?
Sevilla. He's been starting, which is good. He's been not like tearing up trees or anything, but I mean, Sevilla are no longer in the relegation battle, which is, I guess, good.
But he also got a Spain call up for the last game.
So did Porro.
It's against Scotland.
I'm still optimistic about Porro. To me, he's not brought in for his defensive capabilities. He's brought in when you have a back three and you have players. When you have a competent back three, he's allowed to just kind of defense be a secondary, value to the team.
But in a way, that is our worry, because it's the same as Destiny Doji. I mean, he's the same as Porro on the left. So we're going to need 3 really good centre backs to make up for those two constantly being up top.
Well,
I think from what I've heard, and I haven't followed Udinese as much, just because their games are not great timing for me usually. But from what I've heard, he's not as bad as Porro defensively. He's more I saw some tacticos on Twitter. Obviously, those people don't know what they're talking about. They're like, play Porro or play Udogie as a left center back, and obviously that's something that we definitely should not do. But from what I understand, at least, he's not as bad defensively as Porro is. But we knew Porro was awful defensively, and we brought him in, which is another reason why I feel like we need a manager who plays back three, despite not really wanting to buy a manager that, I don't know. If we buy a manager who plays back four, Porro just needs to be converted to a winger, and we go from there.
Okay, question for each of you. Johnny, I'll start with you. Does the next manager, do we need to stick with this formation now we've bought the wing backs? Do we need to stick with the manager who's going to play the same way, or do we just start the rebuild all over again and go back to what we call the Tottenham way and a more kind of, let's call it traditional formation? Maybe that's the wrong word. But like, as an example, Pep, just to sum up where we are as a club, I think, like, I was reading up on Pep's new philosophy and his new tactics. He has now moved on from fullbacks and wingbacks completely. So, like, he just plays a none now. He plays with 2 centre-backs and then his 2 midfielders drop in as basically meant to form like a back 4. So, like, 4 centre-backs is kind of... Anyway, we seem to be playing an old philosophy now. But anyway, Johnny, what do you think?
I just suppose that you want to have a bit of flexibility, and that's something that we've not had at all. And I mean, when you look at the personnel that have come in recently and the players that, like, obviously Udogie and Porro that you've just mentioned, they clearly fit the system that's established. But and you don't want to be offloading those sorts of players when you've invested so much and they seem to have a huge amount of potential. But you then need to have like a different way of operating for different opposition and different situations you find yourself. And I guess we've been looking at the starting 11 each week because we know that it's going to be 3-4-3 every week. And with our injury issues, which have been pretty immense, so there's almost zero debate about what the lineup is going to be, and that's the thing that I, just as a supporter, would really like to have a bit of faith in a manager that doesn't always do the same thing. So in terms of what your sort of go-to system is, I definitely wouldn't like to see a continuation of the same kind of football we've been watching, that's for sure, because it's obviously very predictable and it's not entertaining. I mean, the players are just, it's like you see them slowly, they're sort of slowly dying in front of you with the sort of lethargy that they exude on the pitch. You can't keep the momentum going. It's like what happened on Saturday. We have a first 25 minutes or so that were really pretty energetic. Bournemouth very much in the back foot, and it can't be sustained. You've got all this pissing around in the middle of the pitch, just all these sideways passes and backwards passes, and like they don't have like watching Madrid last night. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it wasn't that long ago since we were kind of spoken about in the same context as teams like that. And just the ambition and the vision and the passing, we don't have anything like that at all. So we haven't seen anything like that. Ball's been threaded through to players like from the defense to players like Modric who can turn quickly and switch play from one side to the other and that kind of thing. Just like want to see that kind of ambition and imagination and like I'm quite high up in the West Stand, so I've got a pretty good overview of the whole pitch. And it's like I know I've got a view that the players don't have, but these guys have got football brains. They've been playing all their lives. They're incredibly talented, allegedly. And, why are they not seeing some of these opportunities? It's like they can't, it's like their minds are polluted. It's like they have got some kind of probe that's been drilled into their head that prevents them from being ambitious. And I'm sure that comes partly from, or significantly probably from the management and their systems. But it's like, I think that the manager is going to have quite a big job in his hands. We've spoken about this before as well, just about the mentality of the players and the fact that there are quite a lot of players that have been there for a significant period of time. And that is one of the reasons I'd be nervous about Pochettino coming back, because although some of the players that have survived from his previous tenure are actually amongst our strongest players, it's just sort of, that makes me a bit concerned about, well, when are we going to evolve? When are we going to, when are we going to actually like change the whole outlook, the whole mentality? And for me, like, it's not just about systems and entertaining football, which is really important. It's about like a bit of pride, a bit of guts, a bit of like fight, and like the badge does actually mean something. It means a shitload to the people who are watching and are paying all that cash. People watching all over the world, who it's a massively important part for like that. That's what I want to see. So I know it's a bit of an oblique answer to your question. It's not a direct answer, but that's for me the most important thing, and that's what I think is the biggest challenge in some ways, perhaps even more than fitting players into systems. Because, I think at the moment there's a lot of shit.
Johnny.
Pardon?
Sounds like Spurs have broken you, mate.
Yeah, no, they have. Yeah, definitely.
Broken you. They're finally.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, on the other hand, like you see, this is what I love about Postecoglou, and I'm almost certain he's not going to be our next manager. But anything I've seen, like you've got somebody who comes in and just kicks the backsides of everybody in there and just whips them up and gets them to cop the F on, and actually realize that they're doing something that is like what every schoolboy dreams of. Imagine to be playing in White Hart Lane in front of all the supporters, all of them like cheering you up. Jesus, like it doesn't. I just don't understand it. And the spirit that Celtic play with them, it's just you can get a manager who can come in and make that transformation. But at the moment, like Spurs are so far off. And I loved Danjuma's attitude. I loved the way he was reacted to his goal, and it's like, that's what you need. But he's not been broken yet. I know you're going to be talking about Kulusevski later and how he is, whether he's gone down the tubes and what's affected that. Is that the dressing room that are bringing him down? I don't know, but yes. I don't want 3-4-3. Sorry, it's a long answer. I don't want 3-4-3. I don't want the same kind of football. I just want to see some fight and some spirit and a manager that actually changes things around and doesn't wait until the last 10 minutes to make substitutions for the last 5 minutes.
Last game was the one this season where we've actually gone and make changes.
Yeah, not true.
Early. Fine, they backfired, but then we retracted from that, and I was much happier just watching us take the risks and making us watching.
Oh, definitely
positive steps. It was good to see.
Yeah, which would have been fine if our defense wasn't so utterly useless.
Yeah, and that's it. We are playing with a at best mid-table defense all season. So it's been
that's generous.
But it's as you said, John. It's a lethargy of the whole team. Like, I don't know if you guys watched Milan against Napoli, but Napoli are a better side than Milan. But Milan players left it all out on the pitch. They were getting played around, but everyone was coming back. Leao was doing sliding tackles in his penalty area to stop Napoli coming in. How long has it been since we've seen all of our players really put in a full shift, coming back, running till they're dead. It doesn't happen anymore.
City at home this season.
Yeah, but it's like one-offs. I mean, it shouldn't be a one-off. They should be putting in a shift every single game, and it's just
City,
driving
Chelsea,
me nuts.
West Ham, and then the wheels fell off. I thought we looked good in all those games. To be completely fair to my least favorite manager in footballing history, probably, or at least in Tottenham history.
We basically need to play Manchester City every week.
Yeah.
Number
We need
5.
we need some sort of hypnotist to come in and make them believe that every team's got Haaland up front.
Yeah.
Maybe then they'll put in an actual performance.
Well, yeah, I think this season itself might be over, but there are some shoots for optimism. And I don't want to get stuck too long in the next.
That's a good to say. Is I'm glad to see you're all coming on board my train of we need to get rid of all the old players.
Except, well,
Can't get me there yet.
His head. He's
Can't get me there.
He's got a cuddly toy of Heung-min Son in his bed that he spoons at night. And
yes, sir.
Yeah. And Tej, I want to go on to your other cuddly toy, Kulusevski. So obviously, if you asked me 6 weeks ago, and this is how reactionary football is, if someone said, do you want to sign him permanently, if you have the option, which we do, I'd have said 120% yes, I'm petrified of him turning us down if we don't get top 4. Now I'm kind of like, I hope we keep him, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Where are your guys' heads at with it at the moment? He seems to be falling further and further down the pecking order, but it's also quite harsh to judge a player, isn't it, in amongst this shit show that's going on at the moment, I guess.
Yeah. I'll talk more on it later, but I'll just start with I'll continue beating my dead horse. I think the wingers just get thrown out to dry with this system that we play right now. A lot of the times when Kulusevski picks up the ball and makes good runs into dangerous areas, we just don't have anyone arriving in the box for him to hit, because that's ironically, I think that Emerson getting injured has kind of screwed with Kulusevski a bit, because Porro likes to play on the wing. Doherty likes to play on the wing. Kulusevski likes to play on the wing. So nobody's in that right half space. And when Emerson figured out that he was actually able to kick a football competently, which was kind of cool of him, he didn't operate on the wing like he kind of tried to before. He started operating in that right half space, and that opened up a lot of opportunities, I think, for Kulusevski to be more dangerous, because he could play those 1-2s. He could play into the channel, and then Emerson could go in, and it would drag a defender out, and it created a lot more I don't want to say tactical, but man marking nightmares for defenders in that area, because we had two players who were operating in two different positions, and it's kind of like Porro and Kulusevski. What I think they'll figure it out. I think that it's just a case of two players who Porro is very used to playing up on that kind of Perisic role, to put it lightly, just kind of sticking his ass on the front line and then whipping a ball in. That's kind of what both of our wing backs right now are used to doing. So I think that that's kind of going against how Kulusevski has played. If you look at the positioning mass, Kulusevski is almost always our highest player overall, because he also takes up that position, which is forcing Porro to come into some of his less than ideal positions, which is basically anywhere in our half probably right now. So I think that Kulusevski is brilliant. I think that he's probably not fully fit. I think that the system absolutely ruins wingers, and I think that we should still sign him, because realistically, he is still very cheap. He's 35 mil over 5 seasons. If Fabrizio Romano was correct at the time, so that's 7 mil a season. That's nothing. He will not be 35 million off of our transfer budget this summer, like we will of course see when we
that
make
means
this
he doesn't
permanent.
count as a signing, doesn't it? because he's not. That's not a big club thing to do. Apparently, spreading your payments out
No,
over 5 windows. Is it?
No, it's you got to spread it over at least 10. That's what big clubs do, I
Okay,
think.
no, it's either you pay for it all up front, or you do it over 10 seasons. But what we do,
Yeah.
it's small club behaviour. Particularly if you include a loan, then it does not count. You
Absolutely.
basically got the player for free, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. No, it doesn't count at all.
That one. Yeah. Are you guys in agreement, like that you'd like to keep him?
I definitely would. I think what Kulusevski brings is something that I don't. Could you look at the other forward players we've had outside of Son and Kane for the last while? He's got. I know that he's gone. He's not been anywhere near the player he was when he kind of got into his flow second half of last season. But he's still, when you see him attacking, his mindset is quite different, I think, from most other players. Like, he backs himself. He's got good pace. He takes on defenders. You often seen down the years, like, there's the space in behind the fullback. You take him down to the goal line and pull a cross back, or he'll do that. He'll run into the box through that space by the goal line, which not many other players would do in any team. And I just and he has trickery. He's got quick feet. He quite often makes fools of defenders. And even though he's not been as effective or as consistent, I still think that I get excited when he's got the ball at his feet. It's like kind of Aaron Lennon or obviously Bale, but like different kind of player from Bale. But that kind of jinkery. It's like quite an old fashioned.
Sometimes, isn't it?
It's
that kind of like he just leaves him for. And he's the weird thing about him, the difference between him and Lennon and Bale is he's got no pace at all compared to those guys.
Yeah.
But he's
that's
still
true.
just they're just like gone. He's got this.
His feet are very quick, and yeah. So I think he's well worth having. And obviously, I mean, he's not been as effective, but he's still been pretty much, when he's available, he's been starting. And I know that's partly due to we would maybe all of us would have been trying Danjuma from the outset in some games, but other than Danjuma, like, there's more on my. I don't understand. I'm not as anti Moore as a lot of supporters are, but I definitely don't understand why he would get anywhere near the pitch when he's going to be leaving in the summer. So I think you might as well forget about Moore, unless we've got an injury crisis that's precipitates to the point where there's nobody else. But we've got Richarlison as well up front too. So
there's definitely a bias that some players get, though. Like, I find Son and Kulusevski have had opposite treatment this year. Kulusevski has 1 or 2 bad games, he's dropped, no discussion.
Yeah.
Son, now we've got to play you into form, man. 15 games, and like Dee said, it's not either of their fault really. They're victims to a system at the moment that doesn't really suit how they play. But I just feel some players get this huge amount of patience, and Kulusevski is the opposite of that. He seems to get, he's the first one off the team sheet every single time. And that must be really hard for a young player. As soon as they get some confidence and form up, they have 1 bad game and then they're back off 1 or 2 bad games and they're back out of the team again. Especially when we don't have standout players, waiting for that chance either. Just feels
I mean, I think that part of the reason Kulusevski is the first player off the team sheet is because I don't think Richarlison is as good on the left wing. I think it's kind of just that simple. I think that we have a player that can play in Kulusevski's position, and for whatever reason, Arnaut Danjuma was unable to touch a football pitch because of Conte's infinite wisdom. So I think that's probably more of the reason why Kulusevski has been dropped so consistently. I think that I don't know, because especially because the games where Kulusevski does get dropped, I do think that Richarlison put in better performances than him. I think Kulusevski is running into the Højbjerg problem right now, actually, in terms of just never ever. I can't remember Kulusevski getting dropped besides 1 or 2 games. Maybe I'm misremembering. Besides injury, he got dropped against Forest.
Maybe I'm being biased and
he got dropped against Forest, and then he got dropped against I forget who. Maybe it was Southampton. He got dropped against Southampton, but then played in like the 5th minute because Richarlison came off injured.
That's true.
I think
wasn't there a spell where Richarlison was playing though?
He played because Richarlison didn't play. Richarlison started his first game for a while, I think, against Forest. The other games where Richarlison started, it was over Sun. Let me check. I don't know if I can look at his starts.
I think also Richarlison was out injured though, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah, he's been very unlucky of injuries. I do.
He played around January and then he got injured around February, didn't he? Like he was out for quite a while then.
Yeah. But going back to the Kulu, I just had a quick look, and apparently, according to Italian media, we're obliged to buy him if he plays 50% of the appearances. And he's only going to cost 35 million over 5 years. So I mean, it's not that big of a risk.
For that
we've already paid 10 million in loan fees.
No-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And let's face it, like 70-80% of his tenure, he's been really good for us. It's just this.
And we don't know, how much he's still being hampered by his injury, but he's having to play because we don't have anybody else.
Yeah, true. But I want to focus on some really good, happy topics now, and that is Chelsea's absolute demise and the hilarious state that Todd Bowley's now trying to lead team talks and telling players he's marching to the dressing room at the end of games to tell players off. Their financial fair play buffers, they're having to sell 4 or 5 players. They're now having to cut their wages by 30% because they're not going to get Champions League. So players are pissed off and arguing in the Chelsea camp apparently about that, whose fault it is. They still haven't signed a striker or identified a striker yet, but they're looking at more midfielders.
But they don't have to worry. Lukaku's coming back.
Exactly.
And they have to have Lukaku back. He's going to be 31 and still got 3 years left on his contract on 200 grand a week. So it's looking good for Chelsea at the moment.
If we could get Colwill from this debacle, that would be absolutely incredible. We won't because it's Chelsea and we don't sell to each other anymore. But man, he'd be perfect. Young, homegrown, which we are kind of starting to run into issues with. It would just be.
But why not? I don't think Todd's going to have the choice. He can't sell to Serie A and he can't sell to La Liga unless it's Real Madrid. So he's stuck selling to Arsenal, Spurs, City, Liverpool, West Ham fucked, Newcastle. That's it. He's kind of hamstrung. He might end up having to sell players to us. Mason Mount, I know the Chelsea fans are petrified of losing because he's a bit of a cult hero for them. But he's another one they're not renewing the contracts for, and he's only got 2 years left, I think.
Yeah,
I don't like him. I think he's overrated.
He is.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of
personally want him, but
rumors to him to Liverpool, and I think that would be. I would not be mad at that.
Yeah, I would like that.
Conor Gallagher's another one that apparently they're going to have to offload.
I mean, he's actually.
But is he just a? It's just a posh.
He's a Crystal Palace level player.
Yeah, it's not for me really. But they're not going to get big fees for those players anyway, so they are going to have to sell some bigger names. They're going to be probably offering Lukaku out on a free or on loan. You'd imagine as well. They're in a terrible situation, which is just.
But the thing with Lukaku is, who's going to take him because he has been an absolute disaster into this year.
Oh, no one. Yeah, I think he's going to be their Ozil and Ndombele kind of type.
What's happened there, Stu? Because I know you watch your Serie A, because he was so effective for them 2 seasons ago.
Well, he when he joined them, he was injured, and it took him ages to get back to actual fitness to be able to start playing. And by the time he did, the Inter side started quite well. It's kind of their side's fallen off a cliff, and so I think it's as we've said about our players, it's hard to come back in when the rest of the team around you is not playing particularly well. But also, he is getting old. He's a physical striker. He's not it's not about technique. I mean, he cannot trap a ball to save his life. So, having been injured, he's lost a bit of a step. He's not the player he was before. So I think that's affecting him. And, then, obviously he's not going to be good enough for the Premier League. But then again, who else is going to take him? No one will be even able to pay half of his salary.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's Chelsea. Chelsea's potential position is kind of why I think I didn't realize how bad Lukaku's been this season. 3 goals, 2 penalties. That's
Yeah,
oof.
he's
That's
been
not
bad.
yeah.
He was pretty terrible
I
at Man
think
United as well, wasn't he? So
But he scored
yeah.
goals, though, didn't he?
Yeah. He at
Mm.
least did, what he was supposed to do. Now he's not even doing that anymore. I'm glad that they have that problem. I think that it'll be interesting to see who Chelsea decide to sell. Because they kind of, from what I understand, they need to sell players, whether or not, or maybe they'll just do what Inter did like a couple seasons ago, where they were supposed to have to sell players to buy players, and they were like, oh, so we'll just buy Skriniar, and then they just never sold anybody. So,
Well, they sold
who
Lukaku
knows, man?
for 100 million.
Wasn't it the summer after that they had that, or was it just were they done after that? I don't remember particularly well.
Yeah, this summer they're going to have to sell again. There's already rumors about them having to, but there's not that many players that they have that I'd actually be interested in.
Didn't they lose? What happened with Skriniar? I know he was linked with PSG on the
he's
last
going
day.
for free. He's going for free.
That's what I thought.
That was always his plan, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's
and that's going to kill them.
Yep. They could have just sold him to
But
us.
Bastoni's going to stay, right?
Yeah, Bastoni doesn't want to leave.
He loves it. Like as someone said, there's a stat, isn't there? Only 2 players in the entire Premier League are Italian. Like they don't leave.
Wow.
Yeah, Italians don't leave.
Italians don't leave. They love their home country. They're proud to play for the national side and represent their national league. And their family orientated culture is apparently contributions to that. And obviously the lifestyle living in Italy, I imagine if you're a millionaire, is pretty awesome. You've got pretty incredible food, Mediterranean diet, weather. It must be pretty lovely place to be.
Yeah, and you can imagine, I mean, you as we all do, dream of playing for the team you support as a kid. So you get there, earn lots of money, better weather than the UK. Why leave?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And their culture's very family orientated, isn't it? They really take care of each other and they don't like to, leave their family behind. So
yeah, Italians don't really, I mean, your average Italian doesn't really travel that much either, and, I can tell you from my personal experience, they all like to go to mum's house for dinner on the weekend and things like that. So
yeah, it's very nice. It's a nice culture. They take care of each other, and we won't go into that off topic. But next topic is how does Frank Lampard get a job? It's so 18 games and 1 win, and 1 win, 2 draws, and 15 losses. Is that right?
I mean, it's clearly his incredible goal scoring record.
That is literally it. It's literally nostalgia that gets him the job.
But most managers go back after they've had at least a good first spell, and then things soured. But he didn't even have a good first spell. It was just a terrible one, and they brought him back. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that hiring stinks of American making a decision. I'm gonna say it because I think that's the type of shit that would fly on like a Hollywood story where like you hire the disgraced ex-manager who was once a great player for you and he comes back and he rallies the troops and you win the Champions League. That's the kind of shit that like a lot of these like American billionaires think like. So that I have a feeling that if we looked at those conversations, that backroom staff were probably like, maybe let's not do that. And then Bowley and all of his guys were like, no, trust me, it'll work. And it doesn't work.
The other thing about that appointment as well, which struck me as strange at the time, we were talking about it a couple of pods ago with the whole media treatment of Spurs and so on, and comparisons with other teams. And there's undoubtedly a very real bias and kind of like there's certain figures in football that are sort of almost beyond criticism, and I'm absolutely convinced that Lampard's one of those in the English media. And I remember at the time when, because it came through, people were talking about on our one of the WhatsApp groups, like couldn't believe that it was actually that when the rumors first came out that Lampard was in the frame and was having discussions with Chelsea, and you kind of thought, is this a wind up? Like, and people going like fingers crossed and like a laughing emojis all over the place, and it's like. And then it actually happened. But when you watch Sky Sports News or you listen to figures in the game, obviously Jamie Redknapp and all those kind of people, they're all going on like, yeah, it's a no-brainer and it's the perfect match. And their journalists, it's the same kind of stories. Like, really, like, if these people not got memories at all. I mean, it's not just that he wasn't good at Chelsea in the first time, right? He did a pretty horrendous job at Everton. And people talk about like him keeping Everton up last season as if that's some kind of achievement after like the players that they had and oh my god, like it's just, I think that's another thing that this situation highlights is the whole bizarre way that the media works and has agendas, and certain players or certain figures are just like, he's the blue-eyed boy of English football.
He's painted as a genius because he got an A-level. Like, that's the famous like story.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Lampard, he ain't thick. You always get that. Is he not? No, he got an A-level. You're like, it doesn't make him a genius.
Private school educated Lampard got an A-level.
He got an A-level. Well done. Yeah. Like, it doesn't mean he's smart. What was the A-level in? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Well, it was cookery. It's just fucking, anyway. Another funny thing about Chelsea, and one of my best mates is unfortunately a Chelsea fan. I'm out for a steak with him tomorrow, but he sent me this interview from Thiago Silva. I don't know if you've seen it, that. But it's really interesting. Thiago Silva said, "I think the first step has been made, an incorrect step, but it has been made. We can't be blaming managers. We have to take responsibility. It's a hard period for the club. The change of ownership and new players arriving. We've even had to increase the size of our changing room because it doesn't fit the size of the squad." So I think what he's basically saying is, and he goes on to say, a positive point is that there are lots of amazing players in the squad. There is always going to be someone upset because not everyone can play. The manager can only pick 11 and we have 30 something. That's tough. Some can't make the squad. We signed 8 in January. We need to stop this and put a strategy in place. Otherwise next season we could make the same mistakes. I think when a player's calling out your owner's strategy like that, and like one of the only players you can rely on each week is calling out your owners, it's looking very bleak, isn't it? Looking lovely and bleak over there at Chelsea. It's the whole era of just luck has just died with Roman, and I'm loving it. Sorry.
God, that they signed Malo Gusto on loan. He's at Lyon still. They have all these players. Like, they have so many. Like, the thing is crazy is I don't know how many other ones, but they have players that they signed and did the loan back, like we did with Udogi. I know they have Malo Gusto. I don't know who else they have, but they have a small nation in the changing room. I don't know what manager, like, everyone's like, oh, I'd rather go to Chelsea, and like, yeah, sure, you would do that because if you pick them up on FIFA, then yeah, you can go spend all the money you want but like, realistically, squad dynamics don't work like that. You don't get to just go sit down and like have a quick chat with someone like you can do in Football Manager and go say, hey, you'll play eventually, and then they'll be like, okay, and then leave. Like, that's not how that works. Like, all of these players are like, they know that they need to play to get like the career move where they actually want to be. Like, Noni Madueke should have never gone there. I'm sorry. Like, not even just because he's Chelsea and Tottenham, but like, he got signed in the same position as an £100 million signing, who's also not that great. Like, maybe he will be eventually, and maybe this will be like one of the like things where Chelsea fans come back in like 5 years and they just find everyone who said anything negative about them at any point in time and been like, see, we knew we had a plan. But like, right now, these signings make no sense. They're all like in very similar positions. You can't play these guys, and like, somehow you're still playing like this like garbage can of a footballer and Mark Cucurella every week. Like, they are the embodiment of, if Twitter had a club, that is what it would be run like. And this is the proof that Twitter cannot run a club, because
we won the transfer window by spending the most money. That is Twitter, by the way.
Yeah,
it's like that's the epitome of success.
But your point about Madueke is a great one, Deej, because I think the idea that Bully has is he's spending all this money, and in his mind, they're on long-term contracts, so at some point their value is going to increase, and he'll make money even if they don't work out there. But I've got players like Madueke who wasn't ready to play for them yet, because as you guys know, I follow PSV. It was my hometown team, and he wasn't ready then. He was already getting criticized by Van Nistelrooy because he was still naive, he was still selfish, he wasn't ready. He was constantly getting injured as well because he's a youngster, it's still growing. And then he's gone to Chelsea and has his growth plan is going to stagnate because he's not going to get game time. They're going to buy in more expensive players, you would presume, again in the summer, or big names are going to come back and demand to play, so he's going to get pushed out. So he's going to sit there in the reserves for a couple of years, and then who's going to buy him for the $35 million they spent? No one.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hell, by the way, anyone listening, or any of you guys, just check out Haaland's goal just now. It is, he just absolutely, I can't pronounce his name, the centre-back for Bayern,
Upamecano,
yeah, he just sits him on his arse. It is quite amusing to watch.
Wow. 1-0?
I saw someone say that he is the most Tottenham defender to never play for Tottenham.
He
was so bad last week.
Oh,
I missed a penalty, apparently.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow.
The U17s won the PL Cup. We
we
officially
won
won a
the
trophy this season.
Premier League.
Season's a success. Let's go.
Let's go. Actually, you know what? I might actually use this season to start watching the youth football a bit more, just as some mildly positive distraction.
I mean, we have good youth teams. We have decent youth teams. Like,
God,
we have really good youth players.
Things are going so bad that we're actually.
Hey, this is what we have players that don't bottle trophies. We just gotta stick them all up there. If we have 7 more cup finals, stick the U17s out there.
Talking of bottlers, there's a team which is throwing away a 15-point lead at the top of the table. Oh fuck!
I don't remember. I don't know.
To a team that are like 16th in the league on the weekend.
Something like that.
Johnny, didn't you go check it out? Those guys, Lego haircut.
Lego man.
Yeah, that was rather nice, wasn't it?
It was I've been at 3 West Ham games now, and I saw 2 last year, just because. The first one I went with Scott, who was on pod a while back.
He's not one of those Tottenham fans who also has a soft spot for West Ham.
No, I definitely am, and no, I just love football. And I was in London. It was the weekend we beat Norwich 3-0, and Morris scored that amazing goal. And the lads were just going over for that, and West Ham were playing on the Saturday against Chelsea, and they won 3. West Ham won 3-2. And then I went in January, next month, because. We were supposed to go to North London Derby, and then the COVID criers whinged off and ran away. So we still went over to London anyway, and West Ham were playing Leeds, and Leeds won 3-2, which was actually much more pleasant. It's just trying to stifle because obviously we got tickets in the West Ham area. So that was, I'm sure there's not too many West Ham supporters watching this podcast, but I hope that if I ever go back again, I'm not going to get rumbled. But yeah. And then at the weekend, it was potentially going to be my third 3-2 in 3 games, because West Ham were much the more likely team to win that game, and which, I mean, after 10 minutes, the thought that was actually what ended up happening. It's just like the first thing you could possibly believe, because Arsenal were playing really, really well. Like, I mean, yes, West Ham were brutal; they're absolutely diabolical. But it's like what I was talking about before. I was talking about mentality, and when Rice came in and stole that ball, I can't remember which defender was it Gabriel maybe, or and ended up winning the penalty from it, I think, or I think it was before for the penalty, and it's like that just changed everything. And all the white boys around me were like going from like everything was just like, it was like being with Spurs supporters the day before, like every curse under the sun, and everybody just being so pissed off and resigned. And now suddenly, like it was a great day for West Ham supporters, and it was obviously a pretty decent one for Spurs supporters too, and anybody else who doesn't like goons. So it was really enjoyable to watch, and to see Saka, missed the pen. Bowen go up and score straight away. Oh, it was fantastic. West Ham were decent, and they're nowhere near as bad as the table suggests. They've got a lot of half decent players, I think.
Yeah, they've had injuries and stuff this year as well, haven't they?
They have. Yeah. So it looks like they're rattled. I mean, I think it's like we've said before about the similarities between Arsenal this season and Leicester the year they won the league, and I can remember, we all remember watching those games, the Leicester games, with as much interest nearly as the Spurs games that season, and just like waiting for an opponent to turn up and actually give them a test. And just like week after week, it didn't happen. Like I actually remember West Ham gave them a test, and Leicester got a winner in injury time, I think, or was it a draw in injury time? And it's like that was about as that's the one that I can remember. But Arsenal are not getting tested, and West Ham actually when they Liverpool did do it clearly in the second half last week. First half, Arsenal blew Liverpool away. Second half, Liverpool turn up and Arsenal buckle under pressure. And the same thing happened against West Ham. So I hope that that will continue because they're there for the taking. I mean, they are beautiful. Some of the football's beautiful, but as much as I don't like to admit
season, they're a good side that finishes fourth. They're not a side that does this. Like, it's not normal that Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs,
No.
West Ham, everyone's fallen off a cliff at once to give them that run at the title.
But they're inexperienced, so that's why I don't understand why more teams don't go at them.
Yeah.
But, you know,
and they haven't make mistakes under pressure.
Yeah.
Every time.
They don't bottle things because Gary Lineker is the latest to come out and say they haven't bottled it if they don't win it. I mean,
okay. It's just this weird protectionism of them. It's just
we bottled weird. It. We bottled the league from second, but they can't bottle it from a 15.
No, we came third, but we bottled it. Arsenal didn't bottle it in second. Apparently, we bottled it in third. So, I don't want to go too into that because we've only got 3 minutes left, and I could go on for ages. And the next thing was the manager search, but I don't want to go into that because clearly no one knows anything.
No one knows. No one knows. I don't care. We'll sign someone.
I would just wish that, you know, Spurs Twitter would stop believing every in-the-know guy who says, we're talking to this manager, we're talking to that manager. Guys, it's not true.
They're just saying it's push fake agendas. Like, whatever your agenda is, someone is saying a story like, oh, Poch is going here, or we're going to have fucking Vincent Company. It's all to wind someone up, depending on the agenda of that page. But if you actually want to know what will play like under one of those 8 managers, we recorded an episode on the 21st of March. You can find us, episode 12, which with a qualified football coach, we went over each of those managers, the style of play, and what would look like under each of them with Johnny's mate Scotty. So you can check that old pod out. It's still very much valid because all the names are still being linked to us. Last thing then, quickly, I've got 2 last quick topics. Pratashi and his ban. We're all hoping he's banned tomorrow. What's the thoughts? Or does anyone want him to stay?
I would like him to leave, and hopefully the door doesn't hit him on the way out. But if it did, I wouldn't be too upset about it. I think that his for some reason, like his talent ID is actually quite good. I think I think that a lot of the players we've signed have been very good. Like Kulusevski, Bentancur, obviously this came from Juventus, so you know, whatever. But like Romero, whatever you think about Romero is miles better than anything we currently have at center back. Not that that's saying all that much. I think that Sarr is a pretty good talent. I think Hill was a good talent. I don't think that he was right for any of the managers that Paratici wanted, and I think that's going to kind of get into why I don't want Paratici back. But like, we've signed all these players, but I don't think any of them fit into the system that Paratici wants from his managers, which is like the Italian sit back and win every game 1-0. The perfect game is a 0-0 draw. I hate that. I think that it goes against everything that Tottenham stands for as a club and like the principles that we've like built on. So that's kind of the reason I want him gone. If he just wanted like anyone who played like even like, you know, some modicum of attacking football, I'd be more willing to have him back because, like I said, I think his talent ID is pretty good. But because of his manager choices, I cannot think of a single one that has worked out well. I think that his best one was probably Conte, and we all knew that was going to end poorly from the start.
Technically, that to be fair, that was the only one that was Levy, apparently, wasn't it? If you believe what you read, and not, you can decide whether that's.
But other than that,
good or bad call. But
Nuno, Gattuso, I would have loved Fonseca even, but he drove Fonseca out because Fonseca plays attacking football.
Gattuso, so imagine. What the
my God.
Fuck? That's like having the Italian Lampard like kind of chucked into the team, like in terms of his credibility.
If the Italian Lampard had some questionable views.
If you thought
Well,
Conte's press conferences were bad, imagine Gattuso's. I mean, just multiply Conte by 10.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
What's he doing now, Gattuso? Is he a manager?
He's a Valencia, I still think.
How's he doing?
I saw something about him at Valencia.
Anyway, yeah, one D. Yeah, let's quickly see. Yeah. Anyway, there were some pretty. That's true. He makes some pretty terrible links to managers, but does pretty.
Oh, he got fired, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So exactly.
There you
go. So last thing is quick finish on because we're way over time is Newcastle, our bogey team. Anyone got any hope of getting a result from there, or do you not really care at this point? Are you just? I would like to beat them just because I want to be a part of the reason that they don't get top 4 and we slow down their whole momentum as a football club. I think
we'll beat them.
Downfall. Yeah.
Don't actually, but I think that we will be forced to play a back 4 because there is no way that a manager who isn't a clear and present danger to their players' mental health would put Davinson Sanchez out there. Unfortunately, I just don't get it. But I think we'll play back 4, assuming that Longley is actually injured, which I don't think anything has come out about it yet. Which doesn't. I mean, I guess we'll wait till that comes out. But I think we'll play back 4. I think we'll come out more attacking. I think that Newcastle are on a bad run of form, and I think that it is possible that we could get a result from there. I'm not saying that it is impossible because, yeah, we just lost to Bournemouth. But so did Liverpool, and now Liverpool are on. People are like, "Oh, can Liverpool still get top 4 despite being in a markedly worse situation than us?" So a win next week, and everyone's like top 4 is back on, because that's how football works. So
Bournemouth almost beat Arsenal, to be fair.
Yeah, Bournemouth like since January have been like a not bad team. I don't want to say that about every team that we play in the relegation zone that we end up losing or drawing to, but.
Leicester and Southampton were shit, and so were Everton.
yes. Leicester and Southampton were shit. Always been shit.
Season for me. Losing to Brendan Rodgers is just like that's my worst thing ever.
And not just losing, getting thrashed.
No, that was coming home to find someone in bed with your partner. To me, losing to Brendan Rodgers, I can't stand it.
Man, like if that game had just never happened, season's so much better.
Yeah.
Because that plus Bentancur out for 9 months. That Bentancur injury is.
I have to say, I think both Bentancur and Davis, their stocks have risen by the fact that we're clearly missing them.
Yeah. I've always liked Davies. I know that he gets lumped in with Dyer, but he's infinitely better than Eric Dyer.
Very consistent,
without a doubt. He doesn't make mistakes. He's not amazing, but he doesn't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm. And he's so versatile too. He's the perfect player to have at a club like ours. Yeah. Maybe not as a starter, but
squad player.
I'm not mad when he starts.
And you can't imagine him kicking up a fuss if he doesn't start either.
Nope.
No. He's like John O'Shea, isn't he? When Man United were winning titles and they had this versatile defender on the bench who just got on with it and did an okay job every time. Looking at injuries, it says on Physio Room, PremierLeagueInjuries.com, sorry, however reliable this is, it says that Davies is due back on the 23rd of April, potentially, according to the latest reports.
Please.
Can we play left back though?
27th of April, Sessegnon's back. 27th of April, Mora's back. Fucking hell, boys. So yeah, that's from a suspension.
No, he's not. I think that we should appeal to get his red card ban increased, until the end of the season.
Yeah. It looks like Longlay's out indefinitely, Bentancur's out indefinitely, obviously. Basuma's still out indefinitely. But we could have Davies and Sessegnon back in the next 2 weeks, and then Royale back middle of May. So there's a few handy defenders coming back in, which makes things a bit more manageable at the end of the season as well.
Sessegnon is whatever. I think that I don't know. I think he could be better than what we have.
He's been such a disappointment for me, though, Sessegnon. I had high hopes for
injuries.
He's got no confidence at all. No. He's like the fans get on his back as well. I mean, nothing like the Sanchez thing, but he is, everybody just groans anytime he's about to come on. The groans around where I'm saying is really nobody's got any faith in him anymore as supporters. I just think, and going back to the Newcastle game, I just think with our defense, I'm sorry, I know I'm really down today, but I just have, considering our defense, I really hope that we do play a back four, and I really hope that we do at least try and do what we did in the second half against Bournemouth. But if Son and Kane, it's like, oh yeah, as long as you got Son and Kane on the pitch, anything can happen. That's true, and Juma maybe can continue the momentum, but it's just the defense is so horrific that I think we could end up losing like 6-5 or something. But I just
can't understand why. Why every time I see a link with a new player, it's not a centre back? Like nothing else. It doesn't matter if nothing else matters right now, but sorting out that defence. We have good enough players elsewhere on the pitch to make a good team out of. Lots can be upgraded, but there's good enough players. The defence is fucking at best mid-table. At best, and that's being really generous.
That's generous,
That's really generous.
Because even our star centre back, who cost, what was it, 60, 65 million? I mean, he makes me despair sometimes. The way he just storms up and then loses the ball, does stupid back heels.
Yeah. But he knows he's like the only half competent guy in that back line, and he's undroppable. Like, I think if we had some good players around him, he would.
That's
really
the problem as well, isn't it? Yeah.
The Eric Dyer, Christian Romero back two is going to go crazy with Perisic and Porro on the wing. That's basically a back two. Oh boy, we could definitely lose this game 6-5. But at the same time, Aston Villa just beat them 3-0. Anything's possible. Yeah. Emery Ball seems to be working over there. I don't see any reason why we can't just copy paste. Because I don't know, anything's better than the current sit back and pray that our fast guys go get something on the counter.
Newcastle
guys are all that fast.
Obviously, that game was at Villa Park, and I don't know if it's their last game, but they played against Man United very recently at St James's, and they were really good. And I know United were not, but so in fairness, you talk about the Anfield effect and stuff. Like the St James's Park faithful are right up there as well, aren't they? When it comes to the difference they can make. So that would be another reason I'd be less optimistic. But we've actually got a pretty good record, bar that horrific 5-1 that we had when we came third in the 2-horse race. I think I don't remember the last time we lost up there. We've got a pretty good record. No, I don't know if that really counts for anything though, let's be honest. But, I guess I'm like you, Jim, saying, anything is a bonus at this stage. So I'm going to watch it expecting to lose. And if we actually turn up, then that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I definitely think we'll lose. Definitely think that it probably won't be as bad as the last games, because I think that we will be forced to play more attacking. And so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Even if we lose, we all kind of agree, right? The season's over. I don't care where we finish in the league. I just want to see progress. I want to see players play well. I want to see Romain Mundle come on in the 75th minute and either play terribly because his first Premier League game and it's against a top 4 side. So who cares? But at least see him out there. Yeah. I think he's a real talent. I just want to see something promising. And based on the end of the Bournemouth game, I think that we will see that. So that is my only cause for optimism, because like I said, I'm not watching for results at this point. I'm just watching to see anything that is a modicum of entertainment. And of course I say that and we'll come out with he'll invent I'm not even going to say his name. He will invent a 8-back to come out with, and we'll still lose 7-0, and then I will probably
as the guys as Flav says till he's blue in the face on the Fighting Cock, he's just like, how when you go back 5 years on social media and you see people going, why do we still have, or 4 years, Yaphet Tandanga and Davidson Sanchez in this defence, and you go forward 4 years, why do we have Yaphet? Why are they still there? Why are you still there?
Tanganga, because he's homegrown. There's a reason.
Yeah, we are so screwed with homegrown, which is why we need to actually start betting in some of these youngsters instead of not. Which is also why Levy Cole will be so nice. But I get why Tanganga's still there.
Sanchez, yeah.
I just don't think anyone
I
will buy
don't.
him.
I just don't understand the whole like Tanganga gets a hell of a beating from supporters, and I was at that game, which is the first one back against City when we won 1-0 with the Sonny goal, and he was basically man of the match in that game. Now I know it's like Winks against Madrid; it's a one-off game, but also I was at the Lane. I wasn't, and didn't go that regularly then. But for his debut against Liverpool, I think in the January just before COVID hit, and he was really good on his debut as well. And I think like I remember the game where it all went this way was the Palace game away, yeah. But I thought until that, like he was really shocking, and then he just didn't get back in the team after that. I don't remember him being like consistently having howlers. Certainly, I think he's just as good as probably sticking. Well, he's probably better than putting Sanchez in, and especially now after what happened with Sanchez the other day. So, and he's on the right hand side, so then it kind of makes sense to have him instead of Sanchez because they're both that side of the center. So I don't know. I think that you want an upgrade on Tanganga, but is he really deserving of that kind of level?
No, he's not the crux of the problem. He's not the crux of the problem, is he?
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Tanganga start right back. If I'm being honest, I think if we play back four, I think Tanganga starts at right back because that's his natural position. But he's like an Emerson type, probably less attacking than Emerson. But he's, I guess, maybe the thought is that he's not comfortable playing him at left back or at right center back. But I don't see a world in which we play a top four side with Perisic and Porro as our wing backs in a back four. We might do it anyway. And, if we do that, then it'll be fun. We'll concede like 8 goals, but it'll be fun to watch.
Be your new favourite defeat, Teach.
Hell yeah.
Right, boys, we've got to wrap up. It's getting very late, and it was a good chat. But yeah, just so you know, Man City have won the game. Ake's gone off injured though. Is the only negative. I just see as well, like I'm a massive Tottenham conspiracy theory here, right? Because I'm like just don't want Arsenal to win the league at all. But City now have Pep hasn't taken any players off apart from Ake got injured, so he's played everyone for the 90 minutes. He's going to go into the FA Cup on Saturday. Arsenal play on the Friday against Southampton, so he's obviously going to go full strength in a semi-final again, and then he's got Arsenal on the Wednesday, and Arsenal get an extra 2 days rest. I don't.
Who are they playing in the semi?
Sheffield United.
So he might not go full strength. Maybe that was his
semi-final.
No way he goes full strength.
Sheffield
I don't think. They'll care less about us they'll care less about the FA Cup than we did under Poch.
True, actually, FA Cup's now. Yeah. Okay. Maybe
that's the thing is because they want the Champions League. Anything else is mustard for them. But I super don't think he wants the FA Cup. I think
Okay, I hope you're right. But anyway, up the Spurs, boys.
Up
Roll
Spurs.
on.
Spurs.
Let's beat the barcodes.
Here's to a new favorite defeat on the weekend.
All right, I'm gonna say we're gonna win it. But anyway, up the Spurs. Catch you soon, boys.
Up the Spurs.
See you later.
All right, see you.